Hey, everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by shamanspiritcenter.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today, I wanted to talk to you about coexisting with narcissists. As you probably know, it really is best to simply distance yourself from the person or the relationship if you have someone in your life who is as toxic as pathological narcissists generally are. But for some, that's not always possible right away, and others may not be ready to do that for whatever reason. So I thought we could talk about that on the show today. Now, you might notice that this show is called Coexisting with Narcissists rather than something else. That's because this is all you can really do. There's no real relationship or other scenario that is possible with people who are this toxic and this pathological. It's simple coexistence. You exist at the same time and or at the same place they do. That usually means living with or otherwise being around them all the time, such as if the narcissist is a family member or maybe a coworker. This can be difficult. As many know, it's often your very existence that bothers a narcissist, especially during the devaluation phase of the cycle or after they've decided that you are their enemy. For whatever reason, whether it's misplaced or projected envy, jealousy, betrayal, anger, revenge, spite, or whatever else they've come up with, they can feel compelled to attack you, smear you, lie about you, compete with you. This makes coexistence with narcissists very difficult. In a quote-unquote normal situation when there's a problem, if you leave someone else alone, they will leave you alone. If they leave you alone, you will leave them alone. The two of you can coexist with relatively few problems. This is often not the way it plays out with pathologically narcissistic people. These are not usually people who can leave well enough alone, even when it's in their own best interest to do so. This is one of the things that makes them so toxic. Because of this dynamic, if you decide to try to coexist with a narcissistic person, there are a few things you can do in order to try to reduce the stress that this situation will put on you. Of course, the most important thing you can do is to realize that none of these things might help at all, and they certainly will not control the narcissist's behavior. Narcissistic people are generally unfair, unreasonable, inconsiderate, and illogical. It often truly does not matter what you do or don't do. They behave the way that they behave for their own reasons. You do not, cannot, and will not be able to do anything about that. You cannot change that. So one of the first things you can do is learn to ignore them. One of the most difficult things about dealing with narcissistic people is often their continuous provocation of other people. They may consistently make snide little comments, cause problems, and try to start fights. They may lie about you, lie to you, steal from you, disrespect you, make fun of you, yell at you, ignore you, sabotage themselves, and generally do a million things, both big and small, that make dealing with them impossible and unpleasant. If you are going to coexist with a pathologically narcissistic person, you're going to have to learn to ignore these things and not react to them. Your reaction is usually what the narcissist wants. There's no way to stop a narcissist from doing these things if you're not going to leave, and reacting to them only feeds into the situation, so you have to learn to ignore it. This is not easy, nor is it fair, but dealing with narcissistic people is neither of these things anyway. That's just the way it is. There are several podcasts on this channel that teach about the gray rock method. Practice that, and remember that not reacting is not about repressing your emotions. It's about controlling your behavior. Your emotions should still be acknowledged and processed in a healthy way. That's very important. Number 2, learn not to rely on them. Relying on narcissistic people is often extremely frustrating. Regardless of what you're relying on them for, chances are you will not get it. If you do get it, it will not be consistent, or it will come with enormous strings attached. It is usually less frustrating and less stressful not to rely on them at all. It's a sad situation not to be able to rely on a loved one, for example, but this is the reality of the situation. Narcissists are generally unstable, inconsistent, and illogical. They may make promises they have no intention of keeping, or with no thought or knowledge or even any idea of how they'll actually keep the promise. They may make promises they have every intention of keeping, but then change their mind with their emotions. They're often selfish, inconsiderate, spiteful, and vengeful as well. Eventually, All these things are going to come into play. They will get in the way, and whatever the narcissist is supposed to be providing, contributing, or helping with will not get done. Many pathologically narcissistic people contribute only the bare minimum to their families or teams, and some contribute nothing at all. Others may jump to the rescue or create situations where they make themselves indispensable and attempt to force others to rely on them, but there's a very high price to pay for their help. Narcissistic people are really only capable of transactional relationships. So unless you want to give a lot more than you're getting, it's better to learn not to rely on them at all. Number 3, learn to have realistic expectations. Expecting anything from narcissists almost always ends in conflict, regardless of what it is. From taking out the trash to making a commitment, it seems that there is no expectation small enough or basic enough for them to succeed at it. There is no true give and take in these relationships. There's only take. If narcissists are required to give, they often become resentful, angry, and seek to punish the other person or the people that are requiring them to do so. This is usually pretty hurtful to the people around them because those people usually believe their expectations are normal and fair. That may be so in your opinion, but there is no such thing as a fair expectation to a narcissist. This is very important to understand. If you're asking for anything, you're asking for too much. Now, most of the pain that people go through when dealing with narcissistic people, and people in general really, is actually centered around their own expectations of what the relationship or the person should be like or should be doing. Usually these are things like the person should be respectful or loyal. They should not cheat or betray the relationship. They should be supporting and loving to family. They should care about this or they should care about that. However, what someone should be and what they actually are might not be the same thing. If your expectation for things are based on what they should be and not what they are, you're going to be disappointed. For example, you might feel that your spouse should be loyal and not cheat, but if they've shown you that that's what they do, your expectation is only setting you up to be hurt. It's up to you whether you stay in that relationship or not, but if you do, you're going to have to move forward with the expectation that this particular person is probably going to continue to cheat on you because that's what they do. They don't feel the same way you do. You might feel that your mother should not be so controlling and aggressive because you're now an adult, but if she is, then she is. She obviously does not feel the same way you do. To be perfectly honest, it doesn't really matter what you think someone should be. What matters is what they actually are. Learn to let go of should thinking for other people and for yourself, and create your expectations based on what is actually happening or how someone truly behaves. You may find that once you can do this, the narcissist no longer has a place in your life. Number 4, accept the situation for what it is. This dovetails off of making realistic expectations. If you're going to coexist with a narcissistic person, you're going to have to accept the situation for what it is. Avoiding the truth, refusing to accept it, trying to change the other person, and behaving as if you were in a quote normal relationship with a quote normal person is not going to work. It will only hurt you in the end because that's not the truth. That's not how it is. The truth is, this person will not and probably cannot give you what you want. You also cannot give them what they want. It doesn't matter the relationship or the situation. If you're dealing with a pathologically narcissistic person, this is how it is. You can either live with the situation the way it is or you can't. Your narcissistic mother, for example, either will not or cannot be the parent that you believe she should be. You also cannot be the child that she thinks you should be. Your narcissistic spouse either will not or cannot be the partner you believe they should be. You also cannot be the partner they believe you should be. It's extremely important to accept these things because if you can't, you're going to make yourself sick with denial and pain. The stress can literally kill you. So there you have it. These are some things that can help reduce the stress on you when coexisting with a narcissist. They won't change the narcissist's behavior. Nothing can do that. But if you're trying to coexist with a narcissist, these things may help you change your behavior and your mindset and your way of looking at things. Sometimes people say things like, well, that's not fair. Why should I have to do that? Well, you don't. You can always walk away from the situation. If you're not ready, these things can hopefully help you until you are. This is a situation that has no happy ending. Even if you are a fully independent person who accepts the narcissist completely and loves the narcissist with no expectations at all, it will still be a toxic, abusive situation because nothing you do or don't do is going to prevent the narcissistic person from behaving this way. People sometimes believe they can love the narcissist in their lives unconditionally with no expectations and no empathy from the narcissist, but it's one thing to understand somebody has no empathy. It's another to live with a person who is continuously trying to hurt and sabotage you. If you choose to live that way, that's 100% your decision. Just make sure you understand why. I hope that clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via messenger, via email, and through Skype. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that. I teach workshops a few times a month, so if you're interested in signing up for one of those or seeing what we have to offer, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.